It's Wednesday, March 30. In the headlines, debate continues on the Firearms Act. Parents told discipline starts at home. Regionally, Haitians in Barbados are not human trafficking victims, says minister. And in sports, a new boxing gym opens. And the Windies ladies lose their first semi-final. This is the news on PBC Jamaica. I am Simone Absalom Gale. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has departed the island for a working visit in Washington, D.C., United States. During his visit, he's expected to meet with high-level officials within the U.S. government and plans to have discussion with the diaspora. Mr. Holness is expected to return to the island on April 3, 2022. During his absence, Deputy Prime Minister Dr. Horace Chang will oversee the government. For the second time this month, the U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention has lowered its COVID-19 travel advisory for Jamaica. On March 14, the CDC moved Jamaica from level 4 to level 3, and now the designation was further adjusted on Monday to level 2. Destinations carrying the level 2 COVID-19 moderate designation have recorded 50 to 99 cases per 100,000 residents in the last 28 days. However, the CDC still warns travelers heading to level 2 countries to make sure they are fully vaccinated. The risk of being apprehended while in possession of illegal firearms and ammunition outweighs the consequences, and the risk of being apprehended for use of your licensed firearm after it has been seized by the Firearm Licensing Authority is also a matter of concern. These issues and others were being debated in a parliamentary committee reviewing the new Firearms Act. The last sitting was on Tuesday. Anna K. Simpson reports on some interesting points highlighted by the members.
Government Senator Shireen Golding Campbell is suggesting that persons whose firearms have been seized be shielded from prosecution should the weapon later be used in a crime.
What is the objection to protecting a licensed firearm holder from having to go through that process if in fact he has handed and surrendered his firearm to the authority? Are we therefore saying that if something happens and that firearm goes on the street and causes some havoc on the street, that that person must now be held to defend himself even though he has surrendered his firearm to the FLA? I find that a little unfair.
Minister of Legal and Constitutional Affairs, Marlene Malahou Fort, responded.
You would save and accept that we wouldn't be legislating it in the law, but you would have it under the common law, naturally.
And that's the point I'm making.
Yeah, but you can't. But we can't have the cake and eat it, you know. Because there is no guarantee. While you can guarantee that you may not commit an offense, there is no guarantee that you may not be charged with the commission of an offense. And that is why due process says that if you're charged, you go through the process where the evidence is put, you have an opportunity to present your defense, etc., etc.
National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang also emphasized that it is unlikely that a person be charged if proper investigations are done.
If the man surrendered his firearm, I'm not charging him if this comes to a firearm. I'm not charging him. Nobody can charge him if the firearm is used in a felony. He cannot be charged. There's no basis to charge him. The firearm is in the Firearms Authority. However, when the police investigate, if he's found to be part of it, he has to be charged. But he cannot be charged before that. If the investigation leads to him, or whoever it leads to, whether it is the chairman of the LAFLA, the executive director, investigator, officer, or somebody else, and the owner, then they are charged.
Opposition Senator Peter Bunting insisted that the police should be mandated to give receipts to persons when they seize their licensed firearms.
In all these cases where a constable takes possession of a firearm, not necessarily arresting the person, but takes possession of the firearm, can we have that some receipt is given?
That's expected.
To oblige them to give some. I mean, I don't want to say we expect it, but to oblige them to give some receipt.
They must give them some receipt.
And in a standard form type of receipt.
Mrs. Malahou Fort agreed, noting that apart from benefiting the individual, this process would ensure record keeping on the side of the institution. The Firearms Prohibition, Restriction and Regulation Act 2022 was tabled in the House of Representatives on February 10, introducing harsher penalties for the offenses connected to the illicit trade, manufacture, stockpiling, possession, and use of illegal guns. Reporting for the news on PBC Jamaica, I am Anike Simpson.
Government officials and relative members of the public sector are being reminded to file their statutory declarations as the March 31 deadline looms. The Integrity Commission has warned that going forward, people who fail to submit their statutory declarations by the deadline will be referred for prosecution. Speaking inside Gordon House on Tuesday, Legal and Constitutional Affairs Minister Marlene Malahou Fort urged her colleagues to ensure they comply. One student has lost his life due to a violent altercation, and several others have been injured since the start of the new school term. Education and Youth Minister Favour Williams says violent behaviors being displayed by some students are influenced by what happens at home. Speaking at a recent virtual media brief, she reminded parents that discipline and love begins at home.
Now more than ever, we need our parents to recognize the impact that they have on the psyche of their children. We know that too many of our parents shout at their children, kick, box, beat them with implements, and in general subject them to situations that cause violence to take root in their souls.
Minister Williams says research shows that children who are physically punished are more likely to resolve conflicts with violence.
Research is also clear that parents who had experienced frequent physical punishment during their childhood are more likely to believe it was acceptable, and they frequently hit their children, and their children in turn often believe hitting is an appropriate disciplinary method, and the cycle continues.
The Education and Youth Minister says she has reached out to the schools involved, and she has been meeting with the relevant stakeholders to improve on the strategies applied in schools to prevent violent behaviors.
Mr. Troop, who is the head of the Safety and Security in Schools unit, gave an extensive presentation on all aspects of security to our school, and I know his unit has been very active in ensuring that our schools are given the support that they need. In that presentation, there's a call for education and training programs for school staff to identify warning signs, to help them to assess threats, to help them to report the concerns, strategies to de-escalate and diffuse violent situations, how they can improve classroom management, and so on.
Jamaicans in Canada have organized a 4-month-long series of activities to mark the island's 60th anniversary of independence under the theme, Reigniting a Nation for Greatness. The Jamaica 60 activities in Canada were officially launched at the Toronto Event Centre on Saturday, March 26, followed by a church service at the Praise Cathedral Worship Centre Church in Mississauga on Sunday. Both events were attended by the Minister of Tourism, Edmund Bartlett, and Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, Olivia Grange. During her video message at the Jamaica 60 Gala, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Kamina Johnson-Smith, reminded those in attendance of the importance of the relationship between Jamaica and Canada.
Over these 60 years, we've found Canada a most valuable partner and friend, whose sustained commitment has supported our development efforts in multiple areas, including security, climate change, education, and healthcare. This strong and enduring relationship, forged before independence in 1962, sets the stage for even greater collaboration, as evidenced by our joint endeavors within the United Nations on financing for development in the era of COVID-19 and beyond. In reflecting on the strong linkages with Canada, we must highlight the importance of people-to-people exchanges, which serve as the energy which propels our partnership. I am acutely aware of the 300,000 strong Jamaican Canadians who, like their compatriots in other parts of the world, demonstrate the uncanny ability to influence and shape their environment wherever they reside.
Also giving an address at the gala was the Minister of Tourism, Edmund Bartlett. He touted Jamaica's speedy recovery within the Caribbean coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic. He says Jamaica has a lot to celebrate.
Our tourism has also led the way globally. Not just are we growing and recovering faster than the average world recovery, but we are leading the world in managing the process of recovery. And the establishment of that center was a signature statement of institutional capacity that Jamaica has developed to lead the world in recovering from global disruptions. And so this evening, as we celebrate our 60th, let us celebrate our intellectual capacity also. We are not just a music country. We are not just a sporting country. We are not just a country of farmers and planters and lovers. Hello. We are also a country of intellect.
The celebrations will kick off with an independent church service at Faith Sanctuary in Toronto on July 31 and culminate on October 21 with Helping Hands Jamaica Foundation's Jamrock Gala. National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang says the government will be using social services, including education and healthcare, to reconnect with neglected youth in stigmatized communities. Dr. Chang says the move is necessary as many young people, particularly males who are feeling detached from social service structures, are among those responsible for crime and violence across the country.
We have to ensure that individuals in these communities, while we're not in any way discrediting these schools, ensure that they get quality education at these, and where those who cannot afford to get to these basic schools, we provide them with infant schools that have at least equal quality, that they begin to feel that we respect them, we are offering them equal opportunity. Indeed, we are offering them equity in the society.
The minister was speaking on Saturday at the official launch of the National Social Services Fair. Citizens who were assisted in getting services from several entities, including the St. James Health Department, Restorative Justice Unit, the Constabulary Force, Passport, Immigration and Citizenship Agency, the National Parenting Support Commission, and the National Council on Drug Abuse. The Social Services Fair is the latest undertaken by the Ministries of National Security and Education to reconnect at-risk youth. Sagicor Financial Company Limited about to launch a digital commercial bank? Let's find out more in this business report with Danita Rodney.
In foreign exchange trading for Tuesday, March 29, the US dollar sold for an average of $154.13. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $123.97. The pound sterling traded for $203.79, and the euro sold for an average of $173.78. The following reflects the movement of the JSE indices in Tuesday's trading session. The JSE index declined by 1,925 points to close at over 300,000 units. The junior market index advanced by 49 points to close at over 4,000 units. The combined market index declined by 1,359 points to close at over 300,000 units, and the All Jamaican Composite Index declined by 3,613 points to close at over 400,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 107 stocks, of which 42 advanced, 46 declined, and 19 traded firm. Stocks advanced for 1834 Investments Limited, Access Financial Services Limited, and AMG Packaging and Paper Company Limited. Stocks declined for Berger Paints Jamaica Limited, Blue Power Group Limited, and Caribbean Producers Jamaica Limited. Trading firm were CAC 2000 Limited, 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited, and CAC 2000 9.5% cumulative redeemable preference shares. Trans-Jamaican Highway Limited was the volume leader with over 6 million units, followed by Mailpack Group Limited with over 4 million units and Edufocal Limited with over 2 million units. In regional stocks, on the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange, Clicker Investment Fund was the volume leader with over 26,000 shares, followed by Calypso Macro Index Fund with 700 shares being traded. The Barbados Stock Exchange saw Goddard Enterprises Limited as a sole security trading 91 shares. Sagicor Financial Company Limited has announced the launch of a fully digital commercial bank called Sagicor Bank Barbados. It will be the Caribbean's first neobank, which is a financial institution that gives customers a cheaper alternative to traditional banks, having no physical branches and offering services that traditional banks don't. CBC Barbados has more details.
The new bank will be the first fully digital bank in the Caribbean and will begin operations during June and July and will be a major step forward in realizing the goal by creating an integrated financial services company in the Caribbean that can provide customers with one-stop shopping for a full range of personalized banking products and services. Employing the latest mobile digital technology, the bank will provide low-cost, innovative products and services to both retail and business banking customers with a mission to make banking services easy to access, simple to use, and secure and rewarding. The new digital bank will have George Thomas as its Chief Executive Officer. Trevor Thorpe for the Business Report.
In market data for oil prices jumped more than 3% on Wednesday on supply tightness and the growing prospect of new Western sanctions against Russia. Brent crude was up $3.07 or 2.79% at $113.30 a barrel, and West Texas Intermediate crude rose $3.20 or 3.07% to $107.44 a barrel. And that was the business report on PBCJ. I'm Denida Rodney.
In regional news, starting with the Isle of the Pitons, Acting Governor General Errol Charles, in his throne speech at the first sitting of the second session of the 12th Parliament, gave a first look at the legislative agenda of the Philippe Pierre administration for the financial year 2022-2023. DBS Television has the details.
Growing the island's economy is the number one priority for the PIA administration, the decisions regarding which it says will be based on concrete data. The Acting Governor General, His Excellency Errol Charles, revealed some of the plans to do this, which will include support to the private sector, the introduction of new legislation like the bankruptcy and insolvency legislation, and the expansion of export-driven sectors, including manufacturing and business process outsourcing. There are plans to reform the income tax system.
The disposable income of lower income taxpayer will be increased through the granting of higher allowances, and the current burdensome imposition of interest and penalties on outstanding taxes will be reviewed.
Healthcare will also be a central focus for the current administration, with it pursuing improved public infrastructure at all levels. Work on the St. Jude Hospital will recommence in the new financial year, as well as introducing a new unit which will focus on reaching the goal of universal healthcare. In the area of national security, the government plans to reactivate the National Security Council to provide general oversight on all matters of security. Additionally, a National Crime Management Center will be established to coordinate the government's response to crime across multiple agencies. Legislation will also be introduced to cause stiffer penalties for illegal firearm and ammunition possession. Stamping out corruption has been one of the main pledges of the SLP administration, who will this financial year appoint the special prosecutor among other measures.
In the Bahamas, one day after police officers were redeployed to nearly a dozen public schools across New Providence, education officials and the National Security Minister insists the move was vital. Jasmine Brown has the story.
Officials confirming today that 9 senior and junior high schools will now be manned by police officers, and Government High School is confirmed in that list, as officials say they'll do all they can to keep campuses safe. The decision to place officers back in schools comes nearly a week after a male student was stabbed at A.F. Adderley Junior High School. The Education Minister and National Security Minister both made the case for reinstating officers on campuses.
We are not going to sacrifice their future. Now, the issue of safety is a compelling one, and we obliged, we must do something to stabilize the environment.
One thing that everyone agrees to is that the police have a place in school.
Government High is not the only public school with an officer now attached. Other senior high schools include R.M. Bailey, C.C. Sweeting, C.V. Bethel, and Doris Johnson Senior High Schools. Police officers have also been reintroduced to a handful of junior high schools, including C.H. Reeves, T.A. Thompson, and A.F. Adderley. Hannah Martin says despite criticism in the past surrounding a school policing program that was introduced under the former Christie administration, she says there is now widespread support for the more recent move.
Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley is calling for reparations for slavery from this region's former colonial masters. Terry Ann Brown Campbell shares the details.
Over the last few years, regional leaders like Pro-Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, Sir Hilary Beckles, and Prime Minister of Barbados, Mayor Motley, have been calling for reparations for the atrocities of slavery. On Monday, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley added his voice to the call. Speaking at the spiritual Shouter Baptist Liberation Day celebrations hosted by the People's National Movement, the Prime Minister said,
"Recently, I was very pleased to hear Prince William say that he acknowledged that slavery was wrong and that the British government, the British people, have some responsibility in that piece of unforgettable history."
He indicated he was pleased a member of the royal family spoke on the issue of reparations.
But tonight I want to say to Prince William, having said that, I believe you, but I'll believe you more if you do what you must now do, which is to offer some reparation to the people who were wronged.
President Dr. Afran Ali has dismissed reports that the People's Progressive Party civic government is supporting the opposition United National Congress Party of Trinidad and Tobago, following a recent criticism of Dr. Keith Rowley's led administration. Last week, Vice President Dr. Barata Jagdeo publicly said that Trinidad and Tobago's economy was falling apart because it is reliant on only one sector, oil and gas. And the Vice President doubled down on his comments during a press conference on Friday last. But when asked to respond to concerns that these comments by Jagdeo amount to interference in the affairs of the Twin Island Republic, Dr. Ali said it has nothing to do with politics, noting that Guyana remains committed to working with all regional partners.
I have listened to the Vice President. He said nothing about opposition or government. Nothing about opposition or government.
The thought is
I am dealing with straight language. Straight language. I am not interpreting language. Straight language. There was no pitch for any opposition or government. And listen, as I said, we in Guyana are focused on developing our country and working with every single one of our regional partners. We value every one of our regional partners, and we're going to work with every one of them.
In Barbados, local officials are refuting media reports suggesting close to 36 Haitians in transit to Guyana are victims of human trafficking. Crystal Hyatt of CBC Barbados has that story.
There's nothing to suggest that any laws have been broken. The Immigration Department has interviewed the Haitian nationals who are here. They've interviewed representatives from the travel agency, and we've been in communication, as I indicated, with officials from Guyana. And there's nothing to suggest that there's anything that is not above board in this circumstance.
Now, Shane, in another section of the media, it was reported that their in-transit visas had expired. However, Minister Abrams says that is not the case.
Our records indicate that they arrived in February, and as is customary with CARICOM nationals, under the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas, they're stamped automatically with a 6-month visitor's visa in entering. So their stay expires sometime in July or August.
He further revealed that a total of 8 children were there, but were all accompanied by their parents or a relative. When I visited their accommodation in Wanstead Gardens, St. James, Minister Abrams and an immigration team were present. There was a clear language barrier, but one Haitian national who identified himself as Mark and did understand English spoke to the minister.
In sports, Australia women defeated West Indies women by 157 runs in the first semi-final of the ICC Women's World Cup at the Basin Reserve on Wednesday. Scores: Australia women 305 for 3 of 45 overs. Batting for the Aussies was Alyssa Healy, top scoring with 129, Rachel Haynes 85 and Beth Mooney 43. Top bowler for the West Indies was Chanel Henry as she picked up 2 for 51. West Indies women 148 all out of 37 overs. Putting some runs on the scoreboard were Stephanie Taylor with 48, Deandra Doughton 34, Hayley Matthews 34, and leading the bowling for the Aussies, Jess Jonathan taking 2 for 14. Aston Villa winger Leon Bailey has praised interim head coach Paul Hall for including a number of locally based players in the Reggae Boys side that drew 1-1 with El Salvador in a World Cup qualifier last week after 4 overseas stars pulled out. Bailey, who played the full 90 minutes against El Salvador, says he likes where the team is heading, even though the Reggae Boys are out of contention for a place in this year's World Cup in Qatar. In their last outing, Reggae Boys lost 4-0 to Canada last Sunday and will face Honduras at home today, Wednesday, March 30. The Jamaica Boxing Board launched a second boxing gym in Montego Bay recently in association with the St. Christopher's Nursing, Electrical and Engineering Academy. Anna K. Simpson has more.
The gym opened last year with professional boxer Jermaine Bowen as head coach. Mr. Bowen is assisted by female boxer Jasmine Graham, who was introduced to the sport to help her with anger issues. Currently, the bulk of the trainees are females who are studying nursing at the academy. Several of them spoke about the benefits of learning the sport, and some even want to become professional boxers.
At start, I did do it for fun, but now I getting a feel of boxing, and I feel like it is better in myself as a person, so now I'm taking it serious.
They say females don't box, and I think that's a lie, because female can do what males can do too. So I believe that I can aspire in boxing and travel the world and help others to see their dreams and aspirations and travel the world like what I'm about to do.
The board president, Stephen Bomber Jones, spoke at the launch and gave his endorsement of what the gym seeks to achieve.
It's my second time coming here, and every time I come, I'm more blown away than the time before. What I'm most proud of with St. Christopher's is the fact that as a boxing board, boxing federation, we have a mandate to create life champions. We know that not everybody can be a champion in the ring, but everybody can be a champion in life. So while we'll have everybody take all comers for boxing, you'll have some that use the boxing just for discipline, and then you will have some that go on to be world champions. But we know that St. Christopher's will raise life champions in nurses, in electrical engineers, and in boxers.
Principal of the Academy, Dr. Lola Cunningham, spearheaded the introduction of the gym as part of the offerings at the institution. She says her support is due to the positive impact that boxing has on her daughter, who currently coaches there.
The principal of the school called a boxing coach, say that my daughter needs training to be a fighter. Oh my God. When the coach trained her for the first 2 weeks, the coach called Dr. Diakora and the whole school, I'm crying because it's true, to look at Jasmine, the most talented among the group in boxing. And he said to me that if I give her the opportunity to take some private lessons with him, he would take her to the national competition that would be held in Kingston.
Assistant coach Graham also shared her experience and what boxing did for her.
It changed something in me that I don't see where a school system could change. But sports do a lot. If you can see a lot of sportsmen, sportswomen, they have come out of the dirt, not from the high rank community. So sports is a way out to make it in life. And I'm so grateful for the team that I have behind me.
The trainee boxers who took the opportunity to showcase what they've learned during the launch say learning the sport has made a positive impact on their lives. Anna K. Simpson reporting for the news on PBCJ.
And with that, we call an end to today's newscast. On behalf of our entire news production team, thanks for watching.